Day 5, Session 1. I also welcome all the participants for this fifth day, Session 1. Now I request Professor Jyoti Shinde Madam, please give introduction of today's speaker.
Good morning, one and all. I am Mrs. Jyoti Shinde, Assistant Professor, ENTC Department. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce today's speaker and eminent personality, Dr. Virendra Dakulgi sir. Dr. Virendra Dakulgi sir has earned B in Electronics and Communication Engineering and MTech in Power Electronics from BTU, Belgavi, India, in 2007 and 2011 respectively. He received a PhD degree in array signal processing from the same university in the year of 2018. He worked as a postdoctoral fellow of Electronics and Communication Engineering Department, Lincoln University College, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia from 2018 to 2020. Currently, he is working as a Dean, Research and Development of Guru Nanak Dev Engineering College, Bidar, India. His research interests are in the areas of
Madam, your voice is breaking. Shinde Madam. Shinde Madam, are you there? Okay, maybe she has some connectivity problem. Am I audible to all? Can anyone give me the response? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, let me continue with the introduction of sir. So today we have an eminent speaker with us, Dr. Virendra Dakulgi, has completed his BE in Electronics and Communication and MTech in Power Electronics, and from the same university he got the PhD award also. He worked as a postdoctoral fellow of Electronics and Communication Engineering Department, Lincoln University College, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia from 2018 to 20. Currently he is working as a Dean of Guru Nanak Dev Engineering College, Bidar, India. His research interests are in the area of signal processing and communication that includes statistical and array signal processing, adaptive beamforming, spatial diversity in wireless communication, multi-user and MIMO communication. He has published over 40 technical papers, including IEEE, Elsewhere, Springer and Taylor and franchises, and 2 patents in these areas. He has received many awards in education, including an award for research publication in the year 2018 by Vision Group on Science and Technology, Government of Karnataka, India, under the leadership of Bharat Ratna Professor C.N. Rao. He received a Young Scientist Award called Research Grant for Scientist in the year 2020 by Vision Group on Science and Technology. Science and Technology, Government of Karnataka, India. He is editor-in-chief of Journal of, that is first Journal of Advanced Research in Wireless, Mobile and Telecommunication. And second one is Journal of Advanced Research in Signal Processing and Application. He is serving as reviewer to various IEEE transactions elsewhere, Taylor and Franchises, Springer journals, and international conference. So he has a great achievement in the younger age. So thank you, Virendra sir, for being with us for this session. And this is an motivation for all the young researchers who are all working. So maybe in the age of 30, 32, he has completed his postdoc and he has received like Young Scientist Award also. So I will be very much thankful and welcome to Virendra sir for presenting our today's session to the participants. Now I request Virendra sir to start the session.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, all. Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir, your voice is audible, sir.
First of all, I take this opportunity to congratulate the whole team, Swari team. Swari is Pandharpur College of Engineering is vibrant. I know many people, particularly ENTC people, are continuously organizing workshops, seminars, and conferences. So many congratulations for the successful completion. Almost it is the 5th day of Atal AICT sponsored wearable devices and its technologies. So I congratulate the whole team, particularly the principal, sir, the HOD of ENTC, and mainly the backbone of this FDP, Professor Dr. Mahesh Matpati, sir, who has already submitted the thesis. So congratulations to all the organizers, and also the speakers were very eminent, and discussions was very fruitful. I have attended a few sessions. So let me start my presentation, today's presentation. Sir, can I share my slides, sir? Hello, sir. Matpati, sir, can I share my presentation? Can anyone please acknowledge that my PPTs are visible or not?
Yes, sir, your PPTs are visible.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I'm very thankful for the organizer for giving an opportunity to speak on smart antennas for mobile communication and health monitoring system. So this topic is related to the wearable devices, so which is the topic of the today's FDP also. So basically, in today's session, I'll be covering the maximum parts of the research aspects of the smart antennas and how smart antennas are used for mobile communication, radar communication, and beyond. And later session, I will be taking this new advancement of the smart antennas which are being used for the health monitoring systems. So health monitorings are very important issues where this smart antennas can be made compact and can be used as a wearable devices like that in some upcoming slides. I'll be covering how this can be used as a wearing devices and how health can be monitored successfully using the smart antenna technology. So my presentation outlines are as follows. I'll be starting with the smart antennas introduction. Then I'll be covering the signal model for smart antenna system. I'll be covering adaptive beamforming algorithms, robust adaptive beamforming algorithms, direction of arrival algorithms, and lastly, the investigation of efficacy of some sensors for health monitoring system. So we'll start with the smart antenna system. So I have seen many researchers also the part of this FDP, they are attending and continuously interacting. I have seen from the last few days. So if I run the slides and without explaining it properly, it is going to be wasted. So before reaching to the wearable devices, how smart antennas can be used as a wearable devices, my duty is to tell the importance of the smart antennas and why antennas are called smart antennas, and what are the importance of smart antennas in today's wireless communications applications, particularly in radar, mobile, seismography, medicine, and many other fields. As we know that wireless communication is one of the fastest growing fields of communication industry. And when we see the research that is being carried out, is a huge amount of the research is carried out throughout the world. But when we see that the current system performance represents massive research work has to be carried out. to make the future communication system vision a reality. Means a plenty of thing has to be converted into reality. Many things are in the simulation and many works are on the paper that need to be brought to the real world applications. So smart antennas have emerged as a frontier in wireless communication. From the last decade, when we see these array of antennas, what we call as a phased array antennas and MIMO antennas and massive MIMO antennas, all our antennas are programmed through the digital signal processing algorithms. So we have seen recently, they have been used massively and as a they are used to solve the plethora of problems of wireless communication. So interesting point, what is a smart antenna? Usually very few authors speaks it as, or term it as a smart antennas. They are all adaptive antennas. All are knowing, and I know in the Swari Pandrapur College of Engineering, many researchers are doing excellent work on the antennas, and they have very good platform and research state-of-art facilities for the antennas also. So they'll be knowing what is the antennas and what are the advancements that are going in the antennas and microstrip antennas and fractal antennas and array antennas and etc. So when we see smart antennas, there are actually no antennas are smart in the world. We have given the term, many others have given the term smart antennas. It is the meaning that the antennas are programmed through the algorithms in which the heart of the system is the digital signal processor. Through the digital signal processor, the entire beam forming, because antennas are responsible for forming the beam, we know the radiation patterns are formed and the radiation patterns are tracked the users when they move from one place to another place. For example, if I receive a call right now, when I move from this place to another lab, the beam will be following. So how this beam will be following, it is through the adaptive antennas which are inbuilt in our mobile communications. So this, how we are making antennas smart through the controlling algorithms, through the digital signal processor. So antenna arrays plus programming language or programming algorithms makes the antenna system a smart one. So smart antennas are intelligent, they are self-configured, and they can radiate the radiation pattern in the desired direction, and they can move throughout the 360 degree as well as 180 degree, etc., etc. So when we take the term smart antenna, see, when we see today we are using a mobile communication wherein we are using right now 4G LTE, 4G long-term evaluation mobile phones. So when the fifth generation will come in 2022, so for the most of the researchers, they should know that what is the meaning of the generation. Here, the mobile generation is not a ordinary thing. It happens every 10 years. Like in 1981, it is a first generation where we use the TDM, time division multiplexing, trunking land phones we have used. In 1991, second generation, 2001, third generation, 2011, fourth generation, and 2021, which is already before the December, the people should launch the fifth generation mobile phones. But no company today also ready with the complete prototype of the fifth generation mobile so that it successfully works. The problem with the fifth generation mobile phone is the requirement of the large bandwidth. When we go for the large bandwidth, it demands for the high cost. For example, today's cost will be the double for the fifth generation one. So there is a trade-off issue between the cost and the performance. As when we see the fifth generation mobile phone, they are very fast and they are almost 10 times faster in the internet as compared to the today's existing mobile phones. But whereas the bandwidth requirement is huge. So how to solve the bandwidth requirement? So the smart antenna is the only solution which solves the plethora of problems for the fifth generation in mobile and beyond mobile communication without demanding the cost, so that the trade-off between the performance and the cost can be achieved. So this is the specialty of the smart antennas or adaptive antennas, which is very useful for the fifth generation and beyond mobile communication. So this first, the smart antenna term, or which is called as adaptive antenna, was first coined by Mr. L.C. Van Natta, US patent in the 6th October 1959. So at that time, why the popularity has increased recently, it is because of the alarming improvement that has happened in the field of VLSI and embedded system. At that time, VLSI and embedded system was not so advanced. As we can see in the last 20 years, last 2 decades, a huge alarming improvement has taken place in the domain of VLSI as well as in the embedded system. That dramatically has changed the structure of antennas and smart antennas, and the digital signal processor cost of the digital signal processor has been brought to very low, so that the smart antennas can be used for the defense applications, mobile applications, commercial applications, and the future as a viewable applications also we can find the smart antennas. Basically, we'll start with the traditional configurations of the two. Here, as you can see in the figure 1A and 1B, one is a traditional antenna array. So as you can see in the before 3 decades or 4 decades where the smart antennas were not existing, see array antennas, they call as a phased array antennas were used. So as you can see, L number of antennas were there, and at the output side, Y there is a radiation pattern will come. But to move the radiation pattern from one point to another point, these antennas arrays which are shown 1 to L need to be manually moved. So manual movement requires huge amount of the energy, which requires a motor drives, which consumes lot of energy and time. And meanwhile, the accuracy of the particular pointing of a beam will not be so much accurate. So to circumvent these problems, recently, and 20, 30 years back, a concept has been introduced, like L.C. Vanette in 1959 is patent. So they have coined array adaptive antennas. What is adaptive antennas means? These antenna arrays are totally controlled through the digital signal programming. So when we see digital signal programming, there are two types of the programming. One is direction of arrival algorithms, another is adaptive beamforming algorithms. So this direction of arrival concept is a classical one, and the recent one is adaptive beamforming, to form a beam in a particular direction of a mobile user. So here, antennas need not to move manually. So they will remain as it is, and only the beam is automatically moves to one particular point to another particular point. That is called self-configured capability of the array antenna. So this is a very brief block diagram and the comparison between the traditional antenna array and adaptive antenna array. So let us look into the architecture of this smart antenna system. Due to many points which I need to cover, I need to go to the wearable devices also. So everything what I'm covering, that will be a very brief. So we're not going into the complete insights of the each and every aspect. So keeping the beginners into the point, the things have been illustrated here. So as we can see, the inputs of the architecture of the smart antenna system, we are having again L number of antennas. Here we can use a microstrip antenna or any other type of antenna. When these signals are received through these antennas, see these when we see using antennas at the receiver side, again there is a configurations are there. The huge there are 3 to 4 configurations are there. Like we are having uniform linear array configuration, we're having uniform circular array, we're having uniform rectangular array configuration. An improved version of these configurations are also available. So when we see in the literature and as a researcher, the uniform linear arrays are the most widely and commonly used configurations because of its simplicity and less complexity. So if you consider uniform linear arrays being used in here in this architecture of a smart antenna, so when the signals are received, radio signals are received through the cell number of antennas, the first thing is that they are high power signals. That is, already the received signals are always enveloped signals which are in the frequency range of the more than 20-30 megahertz. They need to be converted to the baseband signals. So first down conversion will happen at the front end of the receivers. After converting the received signal, the next major important thing is analog to digital converter. So when the signal is given to analog to digital converter, because the digital signal processor only knows the digital signal, discrete signals, zeros and ones. So for that, analog signal which is received must be converted into digital. So here, it is a very interesting point that will surprise that the type of analog to digital converters that are being deployed in the 5th generation are capable of sampling at the rate of 100 gigasamples per second. It is an unimaginable sampling process which happens in the analog to digital converter. This is due to only the significant improvement has taken place in the embedded and VLSI. Because of that only, the smart antennas has got importance in the wireless communication. Before that, due to the scarcity of this technologies in the embedded and VLSI, analog to digital converters are not so super converters. Now, when we see analog to digital converters, they are super converters that converts the analog signal into digital by taking a samples of 100 giga samples per second. So it is unimaginable processing, and it is called super conversion. So when these converted signals are given fed to the weights, So these are the complex weights that all the antennas, each antenna has got a weights with it to update every time. So why the requirement of the weights, and why weights has to be calculated, and why weights need to be updated every time? As you can see, the projection line which is drawn from the digital signal processor to the weights, that is a blue colored dotted one, the adaptive algorithms are is every time it will update the weights of an antenna. Why weights of the antenna needs to be updated every time? Because let us take the first iteration. Let's suppose when we are using 10 antennas at the receiving end. So 10 antennas, all 10 antennas will be having the 10 weights. Output of all the 10 weights are summed together, and from that output is taken, and it is given back to the beamforming device, that is a digital signal device, where a comparison takes place. How the comparison takes place? Because the comparison takes place between the desired signal and a reference signal. Means all these algorithms are using a reference signal. So there is a desired signal, there is a reference signal. So the error is the difference between the desired signal and the reference signal. This error should be minimum. So how we are calculating in the mathematical model, the error is less, means we are taking the mean square error. So when the mean square error is almost zero, or when it is negligible, then the loop, the things will come out of the loop, and final output will come, that is a beam will be formed. So before beam forming, many times these weights are being updated, means the process is repeated many times. Some algorithms takes 20 repetitions, some algorithm takes some 100 algorithms, 100 repetitions. For example, when we take least mean square algorithm, the least mean square algorithm is a adaptive beamforming algorithm, is one of the finest algorithms of adaptive beamforming algorithm, which requires minimum 80 to 90 iterations before forming a beam. So every time this, when beam is being produced, it undergoes many iterations in order to reduce the mean square error to the zero or almost zero. So this is a brief architecture of a smart antenna system. So I have not gone into the details of algorithms, which will be covered in the due period. So here, as you can see, some small animations which has been shown from the phased array, how it works, and animations for the radiation pattern. So in the animation pattern, you can clearly distinguish the two colors in the figure 4. One is a blue and one is a red one. So here, both represents, one is the side lobes, another is the major lobe. So here, as you can see, the transmitter is transmitting waves, and we can see the array of antennas are aligned in very particular direction that is called phased, with the phase differences. So because of the phase differences only, the waves are being propagated in the space. And in the second figure, that is the fourth figure of this slide, you can see how the radiations are completely formed through this phased array. So what are the digital processing concepts are there in the smart antennas? So we are having direction of arrival concept. That is the first one. The second one is adaptive beamforming concepts, which are there in the smart antenna system. The last one is the radiation pattern. Optimization of radiation pattern is also there, and improving the radiation pattern also comes in these things. So here, the role of direction of arrival is estimating the direction of arrival of incoming signals at the array. Adaptive beamforming acts as a spatial filters. They are self-adjustable, and they provide a very high directivity, high resolution beam through the user direction. So radiation pattern is required to calculate the signal of interest and signal of not interest. The signal of interest means that the incoming signal, the mobile user signal, is always called as a signal of interest. And interferences, it is unavoidable interferences, maybe due to external or maybe due to internal, they are called signal of non-interest. Why we required after a brief introduction and its importance in wireless communication, in the next slides we'll go for what is the need of the smart antenna system and why they are required. So a number of applications are there, and because of that, a number of needs are so there for the smart antenna system. Firstly, smart antennas improves the capacities of wireless systems. It improves more signal bandwidth. So this point already I have illustrated in the 5th generation mobile phone. So the demand of the 5th generation and mobile and beyond mobile communication is a huge bandwidth requirement. So when smart antennas or array of antennas are used, For example, Qualcomm is using more than 120 input side antennas and 120 output side antennas, means a massive MIMO of 120 into 120 configurations. In the test trials are there in the Qualcomm, Samsung, and Nokia's. Nokia is also rigorously working on the 5th generation mobile phone. So why they are using 120 antennas and a massive MIMO antennas? They're all smart antennas. It is because to solve the trade-off issue for the performance and the bandwidth requirement. Smart antennas, without demanding the high cost, it will solve the bandwidth requirement. So how it will solve? So it is through the space division multiple access concept, SDMA, which I think need not explain for the ENC people what is a space division multiple access and code division multiple access. The next aspect is it increases the reuse of the frequency. Again, it is a part of the CDMA and SDMA. It provides null steering and side lobe cancelling. So most of the algorithms and the smart antenna systems are self-capable of nullifying the effect of the interferences as well as the side lobes. So that is going to cover in the due slides. Multipath suppression, the signal due to coherence, what we're calling as a coherence signals, similarity of the main lobe, many signals which are resembles to the main signal, that is called multipath fading or etc. that can be suppressed intelligently through the smart antennas. And similarly, we can reduce the speckle noise. One of the important noises in the radar imaging that can also be suppressed using the smart antennas. We can improve the beam width, directivity, etc. So these are the needs of the smart antenna systems. So there are particularly two types of the algorithms are used in the smart antennas. So adaptive beamforming algorithms and direction of arrival algorithms. So we'll see what are the adaptive beamforming algorithms. When we see adaptive beamforming algorithms, there are plenty of algorithms are available in the literatures, and its main algorithms and its variants are also available. Still, adaptive beamforming algorithms area is a hot topic, and still many researchers from throughout the world are improving the many parameters of the adaptive beamforming algorithm so that smart antenna based system or any wireless communication system will become robust and they can perform at the best, at the fastest speed. So traditionally for the beginners, those who are very beginners to the adaptive beamforming concepts or this array signal processing concept, the first introduced algorithm was the least mean square algorithm. Many people are using also in adaptive equalizers. The beamform least mean square algorithm which are used in adaptive equalizers are different, adaptive beamformers are different. Though they resemble the same, their weight equation, updating weight equations resembles the same, but they're totally different, which are deployed in mobile communication and which are deployed for the channel equalization or the adaptive equalizers. They're different. Now, there are many drawbacks are there with the least mean square algorithm. As I mentioned while explaining in the block diagram or architecture of the smart antenna system, least mean square algorithm takes more than 100 iterations before beamforming. So 100 iteration is too much, when such in a very fast moving, when signal is dynamically changing or signal conditions like signal to noise ratio conditions are changing drastically, in such a dramatic conditions or dynamically changing environment, least mean square algorithm completely fails in most of the wireless communication system. To improve that, the algorithms, its variants are in the literatures. Normalized LMS algorithm and robust LMS algorithms, and many its variants are algorithm. Next class of beamforming algorithm of interest is a conjugate gradient algorithm. Next is a recursive least square algorithm, hybrid LMS and RLS algorithm, constant modulus algorithm, and sample matrix inversion algorithm. So in details, each and every algorithm, if I'm going in, it is not the right platform because it will bore many people, because everything has its own mathematical model, and according to the mathematical model only the algorithm works in the smart antenna system. Only we need to understand here what are the types or the variants are available in the literature. Now, when we come to the second class of algorithms for the smart antennas, they are the direction of arrival algorithms. So the most popular algorithm is a multiple signal classification algorithm, which is introduced in 1969 by R.O. Smith. So it is still today also in most of the systems, multiple signal classification algorithms are used. So multiple signal classification algorithm is one of the important algorithms which separates the noise and the signal effectively so that it will form a peak. It will take the the reverse of the power spectrum in such a way that it will form a peak, sharp peak in the desired direction. So still every algorithm has its own limitations or flaws. To overcome that, the following algorithms came into the picture. They are root music algorithm, unitary music algorithm, beam space music, another eSpirit that stands for estimation of signal parameter via rotational invariation techniques, then traditional Capon method, Bignor method, maximum entropy methods, and Bartlett's methods are the few important variants and popular direction of arrival algorithms available in the array signal processing literature. Now, after briefly explaining, after explaining the introduction and the popular algorithms and its variants, let's see how mathematical model is there for the smart antenna system. So you can see the diagram here. I think in this diagram, it is the complete geometry of this array antenna, where it shows how the antennas are configured, how signals are taken from the far fields, and how they are weighted and given to the weights, and how they are taken from the output. So here, as you can see, there is a array antennas, L antennas are spaced here. And here between 1 to 2 antenna, or between the antenna omnidirectional antennas, which are used, we are using isotropic antennas, the distance between each antenna we have taken is d is equal to lambda by 2, which is very specific, 0.5 lambda, where lambda is the wavelength of the radio wave. It is to avoid the mutual coupling, one thing, another to avoid the grating lobe concept. For example, if the distance between the two antennas is more than 1 lambda, in that case, when we see the radiation pattern of radiation pattern of an antenna consists of one major lobe and many minor lobes. If you increase the d beyond the 1 lambda, it will be more than 2 major lobes will be produced. So it will leads confusion to the mobile user. So because of that, we should very strictly we should use 0.5 lambda as inter-element spacing between the antennas. So all this the radio signals which are coming here, all are coming at a different time. This is a time delay concept. So all the time delayed signals are summed together at the summer before producing the output through the weights. This is called network for forming a array pattern. After array pattern, the array pattern is plotted against the angle of arrival to get the radiation pattern in a particular direction. So now we are having important parameters of the mathematical model. The first one is a steering vector. Next one is a spatial covariance matrix, signal and the noise subspace, autocorrelation and cross correlation, norm vector and variance, eigenvalue and eigenvectors. So these all are I think boring to many people, because these are the insights of the mathematical model. But I'll try to explain in a very concise way how these are related, how the significance of these parameters for the mathematical model. So steering vector is responsible to steer the beam. So how mathematical equations or algorithms which are used in the digital signal processor, which controls the beams and moves the beams in a very particular direction, it is through the steering vector. In my due slides, I will show my simulation result, and where your picture will be clear and very interesting radiation pattern with the movie, how it is used in real-time base stations. That demonstrations I will do in the due slides in due time. So steering vectors are the vectors which are responsible for to steer the beam in a particular direction. So spatial covariant matrix is a matrix of the received signal which represents, and through that only we can separate the signal and the noise. So then finally, to obtain a desired direction, the eigenvalues and eigenvectors means eigenvalue decomposition is performed so as to point to the user direction. These are the basic equations which we know, which we both. So as we can see in equation, very few equations only I will cover. So not the entire mathematical model. As we see equation number one is a received signal, a sampled baseband signal of the smart antenna. So x of n is a discrete here. So s is the narrowband signals. A of theta is a steering vector. So we can write equation 1 in an elaborate way in the equation number 2 in rows and columns, L into M columns, where L is the number of antenna and M is a narrowband signals. In that way, it is represented in equation number 2. So these are the basic equations. So again, finally, how the output is obtained. So figure 7 represents clearly how the signals is completely represented in terms of the received signal, in terms of the interferences. As we can see in figure 7, there are incoming signals which consist of the incoming signal plus the interference signal. So X of n is combination of both the received signal and the interferences, signal of interest and signal of non-interest, and all are weighted together and which is summed together to get the output. So here output Y of n is array, which is we are having W, which is a complex weight multiplied by the input signal, which is again written in matrix form in the below equation, the last equation of the slide. Now, let us see in detail, firstly, adaptive beamforming algorithms, what are they and what are the importance of each algorithms in detail. So basically, when adaptive beamforming algorithms are concerned, we'll be having two things. One is a non-blind adaptive beamforming algorithms, another is a blind beamforming algorithm. So some applications like radar, when we take, where reference signal will be completely lost even though we are using. So when this algorithms which uses reference signal, they are called non-blind. When applications or algorithm which won't use a reference signal for it, that is called blind algorithms, means independent of reference signal, they are able to form a beam. So examples for the non-blind are LMS, sample matrix, and recursive list, conjugate gradient methods, etc. And a popular blind beamforming algorithms are constant modulus and least square constant modulus algorithms. So here is a table which I have provided to see the performance of each algorithm, and each algorithm is important in different applications, because one application vary from the another application. So one algorithm is suitable for one application and other algorithms are suitable for other applications. So when we see this categories of important algorithms as tabulated here, LMS requires more iterations, means before producing a beam, it requires huge number of iterations, but advantage side is what? Less complex and low convergence. So because of very low complexity and low convergence, because of low simplicity, many users are using LMS still today also in many television system and many communication systems. Second, when RLS is taken, its performance is less efficient in non-stationary environment. When we take SCMI, it requires two large computations. Next, advancement side, conjugate gradient method is the most popular one, which requires less iterations also and very fast convergence and produce accurate beams with high resolution. When we see the improved version, least square LMS, it requires less iteration as well as its depths are very low. When the null depths are very low, means interference rejection capability of algorithm is more. So let's go to the advanced adaptive beamforming algorithms side. So when we see advancement side, variable step size normalized algorithms are important, where here you can see in my work, comparison has been shown. I will not go into the detailed part, only briefly I will explain how the improvement has been taken place in this algorithm. So the first two algorithms which are shown in the graph, LMS and normalized the LMS, they use a stationary or constant step size. When we use constant step size, when the signal is moving dynamically or the signal parameters are moving dynamically, the staircase approximation of the sampled signal or the quantized signal will not change adaptively. To make it more adaptively, we need to change the stationary step size to variable step size. So the variable step size with normalization concept is introduced in our algorithm. So we dubbed our algorithm as variable step size normalized LMS algorithm, which is termed as VSSN LMS algorithm. As we can see, the MATLAB simulation significantly shows the differences between all three algorithms. The blue colored one is the proposed one here in the first one. So the radiation pattern is highly directive. And the second graph, as you can see, the red colored one, which is a convergence, which is the improved convergence as compared to the LMS and all those things. And we have steered in a particular direction, and also we have seen. So steering is also possible in 180 degree when we use a uniform linear array. And if you use uniform circular arrays, all 360 from 0 to 360 degrees is also possible. And here the variations of all algorithm is shown. The proposed one is a competent one, which is producing accurate in all directions. So here we have introduced a novel structure for uniform linear array. So uniform linear array is the one which has antennas and are aligned and horizontally from minus 90 degree to plus 90 degree or 180 degree coverage. Here in this slide, I have shown the new configuration which I have introduced. So here, this one is called doubly crossed double horizontal and vertical uniform array. We have taken two uniform linear arrays. One is a horizontal, another is a vertical. So doubly crossing will solve the problem of grazing incidents. The meaning of the grazing incident is that when the signals arrives at the ends of the array, for example, end of the arrays are 90 degree, minus 90 degree and plus 90 degree. Most of the algorithms in today also, when they use the uniform linear array configuration, they will not provide a uniform direction of arrival or uniform beam forming, because they are very good at the both side, antenna both sides, they are very good at the middle angles. But when we see the end fires, array end fires, most of the algorithms deteriorate in performance and some algorithms that completely fails. So this is not acceptable in most of the wireless applications. To circumvent this problem, we have come up with a new idea wherein we have crossed the uniform linear arrays, so horizontally as well as vertically. So making this one improves, and accordingly we have developed the mathematical model. As you can see, the equations are separately taken for the horizontal and the equations are calculated horizontally and vertically. Meantime, we have calculated the array factor for horizontal components plus and vertical component. So we have taken the cumulative sum of horizontal components and vertical components. Thereby, we can see the significant improvement in the results. So again, the same important algorithm, LMS and NLMS, and we have proposed variable steps as algorithm are deployed on the newly introduced uniform linear array, doubly crossed uniform linear array, which we called as a two-dimensional uniform linear array. So the pink colored graphs shows the 2D and the blue colored one shows the 1D, the classical uniform linear array. So what is the difference that we can make is that the deep portions of the nulls. So when the nulls are very deep, so their interference resistance capabilities will be more. So that is the advantage. So the algorithm will be robust and it can be used in very low signal to noise ratio conditions or where the same number of interferences are more. So this is a table which is shown, which is clearly shows how null depths are here achieved. As you can see, when we use 2D, the first table is for uniform linear array, second one for the 2D uniform linear array. When we see 2D uniform linear array tables, all 2D LMS, 2D NLMS, and 2D variable step size NLMS, we see the significant improvement in the null depth. So this what brings the robustness to the algorithms. So these are the few publications on this which is made, etc. These are the mathematical equations. So here I would like to demonstrate this one through the MATLAB simulation. So if you are in sync with me, and you'll understand, most of people, if not in sync with me, means it is a confusing topic. So here, as a beam scanning plot is shown for the different algorithm using the two concepts, how this mean square error, MSE, which is shown in this 9th graph, mean square error is reduced for the proposed LMS algorithms. So as we've seen, LMS algorithm has started with 80, 90 iterations. Improvement has taken place slowly. So in our method, the proposed modified LMS and modified LMS1 and 1.2 are showing require only 40 to 35 iterations are more than enough. So only looping in the architecture requires 30 to 40 iterations before producing the beam. So that mean square error will become 0 in only 30 to 35 iterations. Can anyone acknowledge me? I'm audible clearly so that I can go to the demonstration part. So I will run a MATLAB code for this one, and you can see a beautiful waves which are coming, which are used at the base stations of the mobile communication. Can anyone acknowledge me, please? Matpati sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, I'm just minimizing the slide and going for the simulation one right now.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Yes. Sir, can you see this MATLAB, sir? I think. Sir, MATLAB screen, can you see the MATLAB screen, sir?
The MATLAB screen is visible.
Yes, okay. So here is a
if possible, increase the size. Okay.
No, sir, I'm not explaining the code, sir. Only I'm just running the code.
Sir, no problem. Right, sir.
So for all the researchers, so very interestingly, you can see how this code works, and this is one of the work which is published in a very reputed journal and which can be used at the base station. So here with animations, I would like to show this code. So when I will run the code, so here it will ask the number of antennas here. So depending upon the number of antenna applications, we are going to use an antenna. For example, if I use 50 antennas, which can be used at the recent mobile communication, even 120 antennas, so it will ask the desired mobile user direction. So I will give mobile user direction at 0 degree, let us consider initially. It will ask the amplitude of the wave, which is required. Some amplitude volt, 5 volt I will give you here. So when I will give all these parameters and when I will run the code, I think you can see this one. So how this antennas, when I have given 50 antennas, all 50 weights are going to update every time. See, complex antennas weights and real-time antenna weights, the imaginary antenna weights and the real antenna weights, as you can see continuously it will update. Means lot of repetitions it will take before forming a beam. So you can see the directivity of the beam on the rectangle radiation pattern and the polar radiation pattern. So you can see when we use 50 antennas, you can see pencil beam has been formed here. And it is how beam scanning has taken place in the base stations. And it will take its own iterations. After few iterations, it will produce a high directivity beam. So I have given a 0 degree. You can see a 0 degree and you can see the minor lobes, which are very, very small minor lobes. And you can see the amplitude of what is called the main beam, which is projected. It's very high resolution. So how in this way the beam is formed. So another example I will give you here. So another direction I will take, another condition I will take. So I will take only 20 antennas here, and I will take the mobile direction at the 45 degree. And I will use the voltage as a 60 voltage, and I will run the code. So here I have reduced the antenna. So this can also the developed method can be used for the massive arrays as well as for the small arrays also. Even we can use for 100 and more than 100 also we can use. Every time when the antennas are increased, the directivity will increase. So as compared to the previous example, in this example, I have taken only 20. In the previous, I have taken 50. So what is the difference we can make out from the simulation or the animation here is the radiation pattern or the directivity, the width of the main beam. So here width of the main beam is slightly more, which is about 3 dB as compared to the previous about 3 dB, more than 7 dB is there. So as compared to the previous one, it is more, so less directivity. So as antenna elements, when we increase, so when increased antenna and antenna elements leads to the high directivity beam and reduced side lobes. So I have given direction of arrival or interested direction is 20 degree. So it is no 45 degree. So it is coming in the 45 degree in the polar plot, the first one, as well as the second is the rectangle one. So here I'll go back to my slides, and a few more points will be covered through the animation. So next one, which is here, is a LMS algorithm. So here we have developed the new block diagram for novel LMS. So here we have made a patent on this one. It is because I will just go through this result section directly and you will come to know that. So today's existing LMS and its variants are taking huge number of iterations before making a mean square error to 0. As you can see a simulation graph, the first one, that is the 11th one, it is taking only less than 10 iterations. This is the first time through the any LMS variants has happened in the array signal processing concept. And because of that, the work has been patented. So this is the fastest algorithm for the LMS and its variants. So how it is possible? So only the very brief things I will explain here, that we have used the constant. Here we have used the CSU model. We have used LMS1 and another SU model, and another is called LMS2 models. So using these models, we are developed the mathematical equation and a flow chart, which is that very time consuming and a confusing topic. And only you can download the work on this one later. And only briefly will explain how it is achieved. It is achieved only through the highlighted through the blocks, CSU block, LMS1, LMS2, and a CU block. Through these cascading of these blocks improves the weight updating equation, thereby it increases its mean square error, reducing performance in very less iterations. So comparisons when we made here through the all existing methods and all popularly available methods in the literature, we see that only a very few iterations are required for the novel LMS, and that is up to 6 iterations we can make it an algorithm before producing a beam in a particular direction. As far as improvement factor is concerned, improvement factor shows that when we perform any research work and we come to a 10% improvement, 20% improvement, or 30, it's significant. Here, through the mathematical equation, it has been shown as compared to the classical LMS, 92.5% of improvement has taken place in reducing the mean square error. So and without affecting its beam. So it's a most competent algorithm which can be used for televisions as well as the mobile for 5G and beyond applications. So next one, robust adaptive beamforming algorithms side. When we go to the robustness of beamforming algorithms, we have taken example of constant mean square algorithm. So when we take constant modulus algorithm has its own problem again. One, it has a large side lobes. Another is extremely low convergence, but still it is the most applicable for the radar communication. Now coming from mobile to radar, when we using mobile first, then radar, then I will go to the wearable devices. So when we'll come to the mobile radar communication, constant modulus algorithm is used because it's non-blind, which won't require the reference signal in it. But what are the major flaws, which are the major disadvantage of these algorithms are its low convergence. Again, it requires huge number of iterations to reduce the error and large side lobes. So in the radars, when the side lobes are very, very large, it will directly relate to the power, and a lot of power will be consumed. So that is a challenging thing. So what we made in our work is, firstly, we improved the constant modulus algorithm by changing the weight updation equation in such a way that auto updation will take place such a way that the convergence speed or mean square error reducing should takes place at very fast speed. That's the first part of the work. And remaining part of the work, we have used the 3 window techniques. That is, H stands for Hamming window, HW stands for Hamming window, and the last one, Kaiser window algorithms. So we have used windows for this improved LMS algorithm. So when we use windows, for example, first one is Hamming, second one is Hamming, last one is a Kaiser, its weight updation equations are redefined. So as you can see, second, third, and fourth weights are the redefined weights for the equations, new methods. Through that, you can see that one where we have seen that the first graph, we have improved the convergence speed, so less than 10. And the second one, as you can see, the radiation pattern of the classical CMA, where you can see the side lobe is almost 40% of the main lobe. So this is a problem with the CMA. When we simulate the CMA, so though it is producing one major beam at the user direction, and there are multiple side lobes, but the side lobe, we can see the side lobe's length is too large. And sometimes it is in simulation, in practical scenarios, it will grow and it will come up to the major lobe level, which leads to a confusion to a radar, and radar will confuse to detect the particular user direction. So this is a problem, a real-time problem. So this real-time problem is being solved here. Here we have used in the first green colored radiation patterns of the Hamming window. We have taken antenna elements 10, 20, and 30 respectively. As antenna elements are increased, and when this window techniques are used, side lobes are being suppressed. The third figure radiation pattern for the Hamming window, as you can see, very neat beams are produced. Lastly, when we take for the Kaiser window techniques, when we take the Kaiser window, you can see the last graph of the fourth figure for L is equal to 30 antenna, a very sharp peak with almost nullifying the side lobes has been presented here. So here the the complete comparison has been shown here. In the complete comparison, how the side lobes are completely suppressed, where the Kaiser window CMS stands top of the order and which outperforms compared to all the methods, giving improvement of about 70.89 decibels. 70.89 decibel improvement is proved here. So this is again a comparison table. The next category for the last, I think almost last for the direction of arrival concepts, high resolution one. So music algorithm has its own problem. So music algorithm is the most popular algorithm, as I mentioned in the previous slides, which was presented first time by R.O. Smith in his work IEEE Conf Transaction on Antennas and Wave Propagation Journal in 1986. So from 1986 to till recent, this music algorithm is used and its variants are still very interesting. But what is the problem with this classical music algorithm is the performance deteriorates and completely fails in very low signal to noise ratio condition. So today's wireless applications are in such a situation that signal to noise ratio is very, very less, and most of the time it comes in negative side, means noise will be more as compared to signal. In such cases, algorithms like music algorithm or the classical algorithms completely fails to detect the user in very noisy environment. So this is a problem, and we have solved this problem through this method. Firstly, we have calculated the correlation matrix using the Jordan canonical matrix. You have incorporated that one. We have the Eigen decomposition we have made, then music spectrum calculated, and then ultimately estimation of large peaks performed to obtain the direction of arrivals. So quickly I will go to the result parts where we have interested signal to noise ratio condition. So this is of very interesting graph which I would like to explain among all the experimental results. Due to shortage of time, I will have taken only the 6th and 7th graph of work to demonstrate our algorithm, how it is robust and how it works in very noisy environments. The figure 6 is a classical music algorithm for sampling frequency of 8 megahertz and antenna elements are 10 and spacing between antenna is 0.45 lambda. Here, as we can see, the algorithm is performing very well when signal to noise ratio is 10 and when signal to noise ratio is 30 and signal to noise ratio is 50. When noise is more, when signal to noise ratio is coming negative side of 20 and minus 20 and minus 10, we can see that the algorithm is completely deteriorating. It is not performing well. So as on next improved side in figure 7, as we can see the modification, here we see that even in negative side 0 dB, minus 10 and minus 20 dB also, it is still stable. The stable waveform represents high resolution in particular, minus 20 and plus 20 directions. So these are the outcomes of this one. Next one we see, we have used the Nystrom method for the music algorithm. This is the recent work for the Nystrom method. So all music algorithm is the one which uses a spatial covariance matrix and eigenvalue decomposition. When eigenvalue decomposition is required, it requires huge computational complexity, which is a lot of burden will be there on the digital signal processor. This lot of burden which is there on the digital signal processor using the eigenvalue decomposition which is required for the music algorithm, it can be solved by using the Nystrom based music algorithm. So we have used the Nystrom based music algorithm. So here direction of arrival estimation using subspace method, it requires as intensive computation calculation as I mentioned. So we have used this classical method in our modified music algorithm to reduce its complexity. So by using the Nystrom method, mathematical model I have not shown because of the lack of time. The Nystrom method when we used, it will give the same accuracy of the other existing algorithms, but with the very reduced what is called complexity. So reduction CPU comparison when we made, as you can see the CPU time performance, it is very less time is required for the Nystrom based music algorithm because of avoiding of eigenvalue decomposition. So this work is recently published in IEEE Communication Letters for significant modification to the music algorithm so that without affecting its high resolution, the complexity and CPU computation time has been drastically made it down. So next comes, let us coming to the last category of wearable devices. So most of the researchers in the literature have shown that antennas can be made it as a wearable and can be used for the health sector, and the doctors or the professional doctors being at the clinic side, at the remote place also, they can monitor the many parameters, vital parameters of the patients. So this is what advancement that has taken place in the wearable antenna devices for healthcare sectors. So recently, one of my friend has proposed work that the antennas can be deployed in the heart. Antennas can be deployed in the brain through the sensors, so that the activities of the brain and activities of the heart can be monitored, and at a regular intervals, like a monthly or without visiting physically to the doctors, they can send their reports, they can generate the reports through those antennas. So why these antennas are required for the smart health monitoring is because transmission of signals from one patient place to the doctor place with accuracy is required. So a lot of work is going in biomedical signal processing, as well as antennas as a wearable antennas for the health monitoring systems. So here in our presentation, we have focused on the developed sensor. We have developed one EMG sensor, electromyography sensor, where this electromyography sensor is used to check the efficacy of the acupuncture therapy. So India and China are the countries where this acupuncture therapy is still in practice, and acupuncture therapy is one of the finest therapies for most of the muscle related and the muscle related problems. So, but in most of the orthodox clinics, the acupuncture therapy is still proven not effective. It is because of the not trusting completely on the acupuncture therapy. So here we have developed one sensor that is called electromyography sensor. So this sensor is an important part of the smart antenna system or an antenna configuration system, where the sensor will monitor the patient's acupuncture therapy effectiveness, so that it will give result on later to a doctor. And how it will send this will first analyze the muscle compression, relaxation, and effect on the patient. Then it will collect the data. Then through the antenna system and the smart antenna system, it will transmit to the doctor who are profession, or a rheumatologist who are at the far place from the patient location. So here, acupuncture is a therapeutic modality which has existed for thousands of years. Owing to the huge number of confounding factors, however, it has been difficult to indefinitely verify the curative efficacy of the treatment. So acupuncture treatment has therefore failed to gain its recognition, as I mentioned. So here, through the electromyography sensor, and which is consists of a circuits like electrodes, it has a differential and inverting amplifier, it has a filter, and it has a full wave rectifier. So in order to perform data acquisition and output of a circuit was fed to a digital signal processing, where we are using antennas for the analog to digital conversion. So we have conducted a case study here. In our case study, we have taken 4 subjects, means 4 patients who are suffering from the muscle impairment at different parts of their bodies, and all are being treated using the acupuncture. And acupuncture, when we use, it will not provide immediate effect. It's a slow and steady performance. So when EMG signal, electromyography signals, which are taken from the sensors from the injured part, were taken before and after the treatment, and the result have shown that the treatment did not produce an immediate conceivable effect on the patients. That is, the level of muscle contraction before and immediately after the treatment were similar. Sign of muscle relief were nevertheless observed when the EMG signals were measured at 30 minutes later after the treatment. So what it suggests? It suggests that acupuncture does not provide effective medication to the patients. We hypothesize that the process of inserting highly conducting needles to the acupuncture points is analogous to conducting a parallel wire to the circuit. So this is shown here. So what we are using here? So we are using here, as you can see, a pin layout of IC. We are using INA106 IC, and we are using a pin layout, another pin called TL07 IC here. So here we are having INA106 IC is a differential amplifier. So it consists of a precision amplifier and 4 on-chip metal film resistors, 2 of 10 kilo ohm resistors connected to input pins, and another 200 kilo ohm resistors are connected to sense the reference pins. So internal configuration of a chip is illustrated here in figure 1.1. Next, in figure 1.2, TL072 IC consists of a low noise junction field effective transistor, JFET input operational amplifier is used, and pin layout is shown here. As we can see from the figure, chip consists of 4 input and 2 outputs, which means that the 2 output are op amp. The TL072 op amp has the advantage of low power consumption, low offset current, low noise, and a high slew rate, which is about 13 watts per microsecond, etc. So these advantages make it suitable candidate for amplifying the weak EMG signal which is taken from the EMG sensors. So here we can see the complete circuit schematic of EMG sensor and the connection which is made on the board, including these electrodes, electrode 1, electrode 2, and etc. Here, so I will not go into the complete insights of the procedure, how EMG sensor is developed in the lab, etc. Only a few brief and a schematic diagram has been shown here. Now, when we come to the test procedure here, in the test procedure, the placement of surface of electrode on the bicep muscle is shown here. So here, it is shown that the placement of surface electrode on the bicep muscle. Once, why we have placed here, it is because to see how effectively the signals can be captured from the EMG sensors. So we have taken 4 volunteers for the test procedure. The first volunteer, the acupuncture procedure is performed on the neck. The needles are being inserted on the neck. Second volunteer is there here shown that on the both the leg sides we have taken the acupuncture concept. The third volunteer, as you can see, on the third volunteer we have placed the needles on only one side of just upper part of the leg, and the fourth one, as you can see, the needles are taken on the thighs. So through the experimental result, this is the experimental setup, and needles are inserted on all the 4 volunteers. All the results through the computer, all the results are recorded, signals are being processed, and the results are analyzed through the newly introduced the EMG sensors. So what this sensor suggests, the observation suggests that strongly that the acupuncture does not provide effective medication to this patient. So before that, I would like to highlight a few more points. This is the ultimate points of the experiment. So when we taken the 4 figures, so respectively EMG signals of the 4 volunteers before and after the acupuncture treatment, clearly these signals are constantly fluctuating because they are highly sensitive to the electrical noise, in particular motion, artifact, and inherent instability of a signal. Hence, there is always existence of variation of plus to minus 15% from its average value. So would be before coming to the norm accuracy. That would not be considered as a after effect of acupuncture. Therefore, the average EMG signal before the acupuncture treatment and the signal at each second after the treatment for a duration of 10 seconds is depicted. That is shown for each and every volunteer. So I would like to emphasize again here that the measurement from the first 3 volunteers were taken instantly after the treatment, while those for the last volunteer were taken half an hour later. Upon the close inspection and close observation from the figures and as well as the experimental results, we observed that the EMG electromagnetic signals of the 4 volunteers before the acupuncture treatment were about 2 volt threshold, with the third volunteer having the highest magnitude 3.5 volt and the second having the lowest magnitude. So this is to say that their muscles were suffering from the contractions due to injuries, and it is very likely that the third volunteer had the most severe one and the second one has the less severe. So from this experimental result, there is certainly there is an effect of the acupuncture is there, but not immediately. The observation suggests that strongly that acupuncture does not provide the effective medication to the patient. The effect of the treatment, however, may not be immediate, but in fact, that slowly but progressively became noticeable. These are the EMG sensors which we built and that can be made it as a wearable through the smart antenna system for the patient. When the acupuncture is used, and acupuncture, when it is used, the signals are processed through the, and EMG sensors will produce the result. And in terms of the volts and etc., more volts represents more the severity of the muscle, and less volt represent the less relaxation of the muscles. So this data which is there, which can be sent to the healthcare monitors, so that healthcare monitors at regular instant of time will come to notice, because acupuncture is a lengthy process wherein patient has to sit, they have to take many sits so that their muscle relaxation will slowly improve, particularly paralyzed patients and again the patients who met in the accidental hazards, etc. So it requires lot of time. So acupuncture is the one which cures from cancer, which from cold to cancer. But here the thing is that the patient has to wait for many times before stabilizing the things. So doctor, recurrent meeting the doctor may not be possible for these highly injured people or paralyzed people, or a doctor may not come to the patient at regular intervals because of his busy schedules, etc. So wearable devices makes it possible that every duration we are fixing some 1 week, 2 week, 1 month, etc. So that the signals will be transmitted to the computers of a doctor, so doctors can see online so what is the improvement, so that he can suggest the more acupuncture therapy, or he can suddenly stop the acupuncture. The muscles are completely relaxed. So these are my brief introduction and brief presentation how smart antennas can be used for the mobile communication, radar communication, as well as for the recent wearable devices where the patient health monitoring can be done. So thank you. So if any questions, please, the platform is open for the questions and discussions.
Thank you, Virendra sir. Like now, I would like to request participants, if they have any questions, please ask the questions. If any participant has any question, please ask the question. Or else let me check in chat box if someone has written anything. No, in chat box also no questions are there. Yes, anybody has the question? Okay. Virendra sir, can we conclude here then? I think
Yes,
no questions are there.
okay, sir. So I'm very much thankful to Mahesh Matpati sir and organizers for giving this platform to share my ideas. And I would like to, once again, I would like to express my sincere gratitude. And also I would like to express my sincere gratitude for the speakers of this FDP who has really broadened our horizons on wearable devices. Thank you one and all for patients who patiently listening. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Virendra sir, let me give you a word of thanks from our side.
Okay, sir.
Thank you your wonderful presentation on how this smart antenna can be used for medical application. So you have covered almost all medical applications. So hope the participant has got benefit of this part. So on behalf of Department of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering and Sweris College of Engineering, Pandharpur, I thank you for accepting our invitation and be here for like 1.5 hours for the session. Thank you all the participants who are patiently listening to this session. Now I request participants to take a break of 15 minutes. So we will rejoin again as per our schedule at 11:45 sharp. Thank you one and all. Virendra sir, can I close now?